Watching news at Prime. Let's get into this conversation now. A P20 Youth Parliament sitting, it will take place on Friday as part of the build-up to Youth Day on Monday. Young lawmakers and ministers will discuss problems facing young people, including high unemployment. Parliament House chairperson Cedric Frolick joining us now from Parliament this evening, or should I say from Cape Town. Chair, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. You say in your alert about this youth parliament that the exclusion of youth voices, particularly from policy-making decisions, it's tantamount to a crisis. Explain that a little further to us.
No, good evening, Collie, and also good evening to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. And thank you for the opportunity. Yes, as you correctly state, that Parliament will convene the landmark P20 Youth Parliament here in Cape Town on Friday. And we are informed by the high levels of youth unemployment that we are experiencing not only in South Africa, but it's becoming a global crisis. Youth are disproportionately affected by unemployment as well as the climate risks. And if you look what is currently happening in the flood situation in the Eastern Cape, we can see the immense impact that these climate disasters will have on employment as well as economic activity. This session thus presents for us a crucial step forward in integrating youth voices into our own policy making.
So let's then discuss the inclusion of young people, particularly in our parliament. How many would you say are under the age of 30, if indeed Parliament is awake to this reality that it is a crisis to exclude young voices from key decision-making?
Only at the moment, I can give you the number of MPs that are under the age of 40, and that totals approximately 74. That's male and female. And then the number under 30 will be in the region of about 20 to 25 members of Parliament. That's in the National Assembly alone. I unfortunately do not have the figures for the National Council of Provinces.
Yeah. All right. Well, that suggests that we're not doing too badly, although closer to the age of 40 might no longer be considered youth. The contribution of young people in Parliament, how big an important step is it, particularly for our country? Do you value their input? Do you think that they are constructive, or is it the other way around, that they perhaps are not as au fait with the work of Parliament? It's really entirely up to you how you see their contribution.
No, Toli, let me say that the youth who are in Parliament, they bring a vibrancy into the institution. But it's not only about the youth in Parliament. They are usually very well prepared, participate fully in Parliament and all its activities. But we also need to reach beyond Parliament, where we feel that and we see that every time when we go to elections, we appeal to the youth to come out in their numbers and to vote. Unfortunately, what we do see when the democratic processes unfold by means of public hearings and other activities, the youth are not really represented there. So what we're trying to do this time around, and it's a new initiative with South Africa hosting the G20, as well as the P20 later this year, is to bring in those voices that are outside Parliament. If we as Parliament do not create the opportunities to reach out and to bring these voices in, then it will not necessarily happen on its own. Yeah. Political parties have their own strategies and youth formations, but for us to come up with a very clear youth development agenda for South Africa's youth in this 7th Parliament, we need to take this initiative, and we must utilize the youthful voices in Parliament to have a discussion with those from outside so that the issues can be mainstreamed and also feature in our own development agenda in the 7th administration.
Yeah. Can I sway your attention, Chair, to an incident that occurred in Parliament? And I'm now swaying the discussion away from youth, and we're now discussing the work of committees, because the chairpersons of the various committees of Parliament, they answer to you. There was a recent incident of the Minister of Higher Education and Training who simply was belligerent. I don't know any other way of describing her behavior. She wouldn't answer questions, even to the chairperson. Firstly, how do you respond to her behavior? How do you see her behavior? Is it to a point where you perhaps would even need to report her to her principal, who is the president?
No, Toli, I think South Africans are aware of this unfortunate incident that occurred. And may I indicate as a principle is that Parliament provide platforms to members of the executive as well as outside entities to come and report on their activities. And it is the expectation that where ministers and deputy ministers do appear and director generals, that they answer questions in Parliament to the members who are the representatives of the people. In this instance, as well as in other occasions where we do get complaints that doesn't get necessarily and feature so strongly, is that there is a discussion that takes place between myself and the Speaker, and then also the leader of government business, where we express our displeasure in how some of these incidents occur. In terms of the Powers and Privileges Act of Parliament, it is important that ministers do reply to questions, that they do cooperate with the committees. And we have now gone further than that, and the minister has been told to appear in front of the committee to respond to those questions that was not responded to. So we'll give the committee the benefit to once again engage with the minister, and we'll see what the outcome of that is. But we do not take kindly to those type of incidents taking place.
So in specific reference to the Minister of Higher Education and Training, what is the next step, if any, that is going to be taken against her?
The minister was requested and to appear in front of the Higher Education Committee this morning, the Portfolio Committee this morning. And unfortunately, due to her presence in Cabinet that was sitting at the same time, she could not come back to the committee before they adjourned for the proceedings to discuss in plenary the fiscal framework. So I'm in discussions with the chairperson and with the ministry so that we can find a slot within the next day or two so that the minister can come and respond to the issues around the panel as well as other matters that has been raised. There is a willingness from the side of the committee to listen to the minister, to give the minister an opportunity, but that must be reciprocated by the minister as well.
Yeah, talking or using that word, reciprocating. There is also a complaint about the behavior of MPs, at least some MPs. Let me not brush everyone with the same paintbrush. And that is that they don't conduct themselves in a manner befitting the house that they occupy. What are the consequence management steps that get taken for MPs that do not behave appropriately?
Koli, I see the visuals that you are referring to. It was one of the incidents in front of the Sport and Recreation Committee. And may I say, we, of course, allow MPs to engage robustly with presentations that's in front of them within the rules of Parliament, but also to portray an image of Parliament that we are there, where we invite South Africans, entities, federations to Parliament to come and respond to the issues that the MPs want to raise. I've requested a meeting with the chairperson of the Sport, Arts and Culture Committee, where certain complaints have been received from the federations on what is currently playing itself out in that committee. And after deliberating with the chairperson of that committee, we will decide on what is the best way to manage it. And under no circumstances do I want to create the impression that people coming to Parliament will be shielded from responding to certain questions, but it must be done in a respectful manner that also enhances the cooperation that we must establish with the communities, entities, and federations that is out there in South Africa. We depend on them to come and to give whatever they want to tell us, whatever they've been called to do, but it must be done in a mutually responsible and respectful manner.
Yeah. Finally, as we conclude the conversation, at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, basically the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, Parliament was also on trial there, so to speak, because you simply did not do what was expected of you, and that is to hold the executive to account. If anything, it was the opposite of what was done. Would you say Parliament has learnt lessons from that era, or is it business as usual?
Only, I think what is important and that what emanated from that commission is that there were certain instances where Parliament could have done more. And may I also say that we have implemented a system where all the recommendations from that commission is currently being implemented. Some of them have been implemented, but specific issues is on the agenda of portfolio committees, and they regularly pursue those. Others were referred to the Rules Committee of Parliament, and the Rules Committee, which met last night, has agreed that there are two important issues dealing with executive oversight and accountability that will come to the Rules Committee within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that is part of the response. And I think sometimes we must communicate these type of things more often so that the expectation that was there of Parliament to do something and to do something concretely can be shared, not only with the media, but also to South Africans.
Cedric Frolick, thank you very much for your time. Parliament House Chairperson talking to us there, not only about the behaviour of the executive, but also members of Parliament, and of course, starting off the conversation with matters pertaining to the Youth Month, and that's the month of June. Very, very important.